The second issue revolves around George, a small man who never realized his full potential because his own fears and insecurities were holding him back. This story resolves so wonderfully because in the original history, George never had a chance to battle those demons. A random accident caused Lorraine to fall in love with her ideal rather than the person George actually was. And in the new history, this almost happens again. Marty had intended to stage George's bravery rather than to develop it naturally. But in the end, the person George always could have been comes through, and he triumphs over his demons. So what does this all have to do with Biff? Well, based on everything that has just been said, it seems that Biff's character has two different presences in the film. The literal, being who Biff is as a character, and the representative. And it seems to me that even more important than who Biff is as a character in the first movie is what Biff represents in the story. Biff, over and above being a great character, is also the physical embodiment of all of George's fears and shortcomings. And when the moment comes for him to grow as a character, he isn't just standing up to Biff. He is standing up to all of his demons that have been holding him back. Literally and figuratively, he conquers them. After the 1955 Biff has been thwarted, we don't see him again until we get back to 1985. And then the metaphor is complete. Because he was willing to fight for the girl he loves, because he was ready to stop running and become the man he always knew he could be, George had reduced all of his demons and insecurities to this. That's almost poetic and a truly fantastic ending. But here's the problem when you throw Part 2 into the mix. Follow my logic on this. In Back to the Future Part 2, we do see 1955 Biff after George has conquered him, and he's the same muscle-headed jerk that he always was, which completely breaks the flow of going from demon present to demon conquered to demon neutered. Biff then conquers Marty, grabs the book, and runs away. Marty chases and retrieves the book as Biff plans to run him over and murder him while laughing like a crazy psychopath with bloodlust, but ultimately loses the book. This is now where we last see 1955 Biff, and when we see 1985 Biff again, it's the same neutered man we saw in the first one. But this is no longer a thwarted personal demon. It is now simply a thwarted bad guy who didn't hatch his evil scheme. This is no longer George's personal triumph. It is now merely Marty's plot triumph. In the context of the trilogy, it will never again be the case that Biff is the way he is at the end of the film because George conquered his demons and became a better person because of it. It will now always be the case that Biff is the way he is because Marty nabbed the book. And that bothers me. So there in a nutshell is a fuller, more complete understanding of why Back to the Future Part 2 got under my skin in the first place. This film is still bad in my view, but again, I can forgive. And for whatever it's worth, if I had to choose a movie to watch out of all the movies I've reviewed as Confused Matthew, it would be this one, Best of the Worst. Thank you all for giving me loads to think about over the years, and I look forward to even more.
My name is Josh Hadley. I host Lost in the Static and Radiodrome on Jackaloperadio.com. This episode you're about to hear isn't really part of either of those shows. It's just a special I wanted to do with Louis Lovehog. We'll call it Lost in the Drome. Alright, and welcome to a special episode of Lost in the Radiodrome. I don't know, it doesn't really fit in with my other shows, but something happened recently and in the comics industry, and it really pissed me off, and I wanted to talk to a very smart comic fan, Louis Lovehog, a.k.a. Linkara, about this. What's going on, Louis?
Shucks. You consider me, like, smart and stuff.
You mean it's all an act on the show?
Oh, yeah, I'm dead stupid.
You said it, not me, so all right.
But yes, oh, what news have we from the wonderful world of comics?
We have to tackle the elephant in the room. We are recording this, I believe, 4 days after DC Comics announced its idiotic reboot.
It's hard to say if it is a reboot now, though. I mean, now slowly more information has been coming out. The real problem has been that that the lack of information from the start. They didn't just come out and say, not a reboot, there's just certain things that are going to change. And and here's what is going to change. And I always hate the lack of information. If they just had more of them telling us exactly what was going to happen, half of the negative feedback on it wouldn't be there.
It's the same thing that happened when Disney announced that they bought Marvel. For, what was it, almost 2 weeks before they gave any details of what Disney's involvement would be. It was 2 weeks of speculation on the internet of, Mickey Mouse crossing over with the Punisher and stuff. I don't know, I think the ad people don't think it through most of the time. But the part that really angers me, and I mean, we'll get to the whole rebooting certain characters' histories and that in a minute, but is the whole going digital thing. The whole, we're launching the digital comics on the same date. Basically, they're saying, buy comic book stores.
See, this pisses you off. It does not piss me off. Now, why don't you give your reasoning for why it's a bad move, and I will counter here.
Okay. First of all, I hate digital comics. I don't mean ones that are created specifically for digital, like web comics and that. I'm talking, if there's a Justice League comic I can hold in my hand, I want that version. I don't want the one to read on my iPod. To me, it's not the same. I need some sort of tactile feel. It's the same thing with online magazines. When, like Film Threat went out of business and they went to filmthreat.com. Maybe I'm an old fogey and you should get off my